Keir Starmer led sombre-faced leaders to the cameras in Downing Street. They worry the US might be pushing a deal they cannot back, creating a breach between allies that is long coming but long dreaded.
Let me begin by welcoming you all to Downing Street.
Germany's Chancellor Merz spoke out more than the others, mild words concealing profound concerns.
I'm sceptical about some of the details which we are seeing in the documents coming from the US side, but we have to talk about that. That's why we are here.
We all support Ukraine, and we all support peace and peace negotiations to have a sustainable, a robust peace. And I think we have a lot of cards in our hands.
President Trump notoriously rebuked President Zelenskyy for not having any cards to play. Yesterday evening, his language swung back again against the Ukrainian president.
I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelenskyy hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it, but I'm not sure that Zelenskyy is fine with it. His people love it, but he hasn't read it. So someday you'll explain that one to me.
There are some things which we can't manage without Americans, things which we can't manage without Europe, and that's why we need to make some important decisions.
Thank you very much.
Keir Starmer wasn't going anywhere near open or coded criticism of the US, just as Washington seems to be contemplating withdrawing some of its most precious support for Ukraine.
The loss of intelligence support, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, other attributes, I mean, it's been overlooked in this conflict the extent to which the Americans largely have been doing everything but pulling the trigger, including on strikes deep inside of Russia. And so if those capabilities were sort of, the rug were pulled out from underneath the Ukrainians, they would feel that in short order.
Europe's leaders were hugging each other close in Downing Street after a weekend that saw the Trump administration publish a national security strategy that says America should undermine their political parties and back the populist right in Europe. The National Security Strategy document speaks of the stark prospect of civilizational erasure in Europe. It says America encourages the growing influence of patriotic European parties, cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory.
If you're allies, you have to act as an ally. And allies don't threaten to interfere in the lives, in the domestic political choices of their allies. We respect them. What is unacceptable is the threat of interference in the political life of Europe.
I think it's a very dangerous moment for Europe. The combination of the latest turn in the peace talks plus this new strategy document from Washington may bring home to Europeans that there are really two different views of the world. One held by European leaders, which is that the West means democracy, human rights, rule of law, and international law. And the other view is that the West, which is about Christian civilization. It's about nationalism. It's about race, even to some degree. That's the view of Trump, and it's probably the view of Putin as well. So we have two different views of the West.
Russia occupies around 20% of Ukraine, the fighting grinding on along this front line which has barely shifted in 3 years. In the last week, Russia claims to have captured these villages, towns and cities. Ukraine disputes Russian claims to control all of Pokrovsk, Vovchansk and Dobropilya. Under President Trump's original 28-point peace plan, Ukraine would have to have withdrawn from the part of the Donbass region which it still controls, key strategic territory, which it argues could allow Russia into much else of Ukraine. President Zelenskyy wants to know what his allies would do if Russia breached any agreement. The security guarantees he seeks still look a long way off. President Trump's patience, unpredictable, but looking like it's wearing thin.
Well, joining me now from Prague is the outgoing Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky, who has long been a vocal supporter of Ukraine. Tomorrow, a new Czech Prime Minister, Andrej Babiš, is being sworn in and has pledged to cut military spending. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. How do you think Europe should view Donald Trump's peace plan? Do you think he has European interests at heart?
So hello from Prague. I think there is a lot of to understand and a lot of to discuss. Honestly, I would begin with the statement that the Ukraine strength is a European strength, and that's something which we ask ourselves: what is the real strength of Europe? And even now, when you look at the numbers, it is the Europe which pays the bill and which is looking for new resources in a situation when we know that the Americans don't want to pay any more money. So any kind of peace deal must be agreed by Ukraine, by President Zelenskyy. There is this Ukrainian constitution which said that the territory cannot be changed without referendum, without procedures. So we should back those principles, because if we do not do that, then the Pandora box of wars in Europe is open.
But it's clear Trump is trying to push everyone else towards an agreement, as his national security strategy document has just been published, saying he wants to encourage, patriotic parties, as they call it in Europe, exactly the kind of parties that are about to take power in your own country. I mean, whose side is he on?
I think when we carefully read this new strategy, there is a lot of things which are in interest of Europe: military spending, cooperation on defense, supply chains, and things which really are valuable from the point of view of our security. But of course, we need to build resilient Europe and united Europe. So that's something where we might diverge.
But isn't there something slightly odd, well, absurd in fact, about Starmer, Merz and Macron standing there praising Donald Trump's peace efforts when his own foreign policy is now openly to get rid of them?
But I'm also ready to praise the Trump peace effort in terms of Russia war against Ukraine, because I think every effort makes sense. And there are so many things where our interests are aligned with the United States. But if they openly say that they want to use our discussions to weaken us, that's something where we have to say, okay, this is our discussion and we will do European decisions.
But don't you think that's exactly what's happened in your own country? I mean, Czechoslovakia is, again, moving towards the populist right. And that's exactly what the National Security Strategy document says it wants, and that American policy should support.
But that would mean that our elections were influenced by external actor. By the way, in this case, it would be USA, which is not true. We lost elections. We are going into opposition. Andrej Babiš will form a new government. He will very soon. And I see it more as an election cycle and changing parties in power rather than some kind of influences from abroad.
But all of the peace is based on the idea that President Putin will stop. And that there will be some sort of security guarantee, which America doesn't seem to want to be part of. Why would that security guarantee have any weight?
Russia has broken Budapest Memorandum. Russia is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, as a nuclear superpower, has broken its own word in Budapest Memorandum. Now they interpret it in a different way, which is totally false. And if we want to have a peace with Russia, if there's supposed to be peace with Russia, we need to have an additional security guarantee rather than the word of agreement with Russia. And we don't know what will be the design. And I always say that the strongest security guarantee for Ukraine is strong Ukraine army. Therefore, ammunition for Ukraine army, resources for Ukraine army, and no limitations on number of soldier or weapon types.
But that's precisely what Russia wants to prevent.
Exactly, because Russia hasn't changed any from its original plans, which started the war almost 4 years ago. That's mean destruction of the Ukraine as a sovereign state, and that's something we should not allow, because then they could do it to any other state in Europe.
I mean, very briefly, do you think we really are on the verge of peace?
Honestly, I don't see that after almost 300 days since the first Zelenskyy proposal to meet Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin in person. Vladimir Putin is only playing for time. We see daily attacks on sea, on air, on land. So I don't have a feeling that we are on the verge of peace, but we are moving in some kind of discussions. Yes.
Jan Lipavsky, thank you very much indeed.